Good day guys, and welcome back. So I haven't posted a video in a while. Sorry for the delay. It's just been a bit busy around here, but not too difficult. This term's work is really pretty straightforward, and I'm pretty sure you are going to get it very easily. So I've asked you guys to summarize the term 3 works. I hope that you have done that, and then I'm just going to explain further on. So if there's anything that you didn't understand, maybe it will be more clear. If in the course of the video there's something that I say that confuses you, that you also have a question on, please feel free to WhatsApp me and just ask me the question, and then I'll reply as soon as possible. Thank you very much for those of you who've submitted your assessment last term. I had some amazing videos, really nice to watch, very entertaining. If you have not submitted the video, you know who you are. Please make sure that you do it as soon as possible, because if you don't do it, you won't get a mark for that, and then your mark for drama won't be that good. We don't want that to happen. Cool. So this time we're going to talk more about performance skills. And after watching the videos that you guys submitted last term, I noticed that there is a lack of certain basic performance skills that you guys have to adhere to. And that's very normal because you are inexperienced actors, so you might not always know what to do when. So for example, when you say a monologue, you might not know what to do with your hands, where to stand, what are you allowed to do, what you are not allowed to do. And the use of the space that you are in. Sometimes you guys come across as a little bit awkward, as if you don't know what to do with your feet. You like kind of triple around a little bit because you don't have a definite place to go to. And also, if we think about the symbolic use of certain things, that you don't always have to literally perform something so that it is that obvious when you perform it. Sometimes you can use symbolism to create a more unique and a more creative picture for what you want to say. So that is what we are going to deal with this term. Okay, so first we're going to look at the purpose of your performance. Okay, so when you perform, there can be 4 reasons for you to perform a piece. Okay, and these you must please learn, guys. This is a very important part of drama, and you will use it if you take drama after grade 9 up until grade 12. You must know these reasons for performing, and then that reason changes according to the piece that you are performing, or the piece changes according to the reason that you are performing it. So you will see there will be a different type of approach towards a piece when you know why you are performing it. Okay, so the first one is to educate or inform. So we get something that we call theatre for education, or educational theatre. So that is where you perform a piece to educate people, to teach them something, to inform them about something. So for example, if you work for the SPCA and you want to create awareness around animal abuse, and now you decide you are going to put on a play that will inform people about the different types of animal abuse, how to deal with it, that type of thing, then it is theatre for education, or theatre to inform. Okay, so in the first term, I asked you guys to do the performance on a tradition. So that was theatre to educate. It was to educate people on a certain tradition that you use in your culture. So in theatre for for education or theatre to educate, you educate them on the form and then how to use it. We need a solution. So even though it is a theatre piece to educate people, it also needs the structure of a normal theatre piece. So there needs to be a beginning, a middle, and an end. This is not a class that you teach, so you can't just stand in front and say, okay, this is the type of cultural habit that we follow and expect it to work. Okay. In theatre, we use something called edutainment. So the word derives from education and entertainment. So the reason why you do a performance to educate people is to entertain them and keep them interested at the same time. So you are not going to perform a piece and just, like I say, stand in front of an audience and teach them as you would in a classroom setting. No, you're going to use a creative way in which you can educate them. So, for example, you can have a storyline. When I was at university, we did a theatre for education piece where we had to educate the learners about bullying. So, our target audience that we performed to was grade 1 to grade 3s, and we had to inform them about bullying. So we actually used a circus setting and how all the circus animals treated the one little animal, and in the end a life lesson came out where they all realized that they are hurting this little animal and that you should rather make them a part of the circus, which was the community, which was a symbol of the community, than be ugly and accept people's differences instead of making fun of it. So we put it in a different setting, a circus, but still it related to the children. So even though the characters were animals, bullying other animals, each one of the characters symbolized a person in the audience: the bully, the victim, the person who sees it, the teacher, whatever the case may be. So in saying that, when we do theatre to educate people, you need to showcase all the different people who play a part in whatever you want to educate them on. Okay, so for example, in the performance that you did the first term where you performed your traditions, there you could have had the different role players, the different people who play a role in the tradition that you are showcasing. So you could have had someone who doesn't know anything about the tradition, you could have had an expert on the tradition, and then you could have had that middle person who doesn't know if they want to participate in the tradition. Okay. When we look at other problems, other social problems, for example, bullying or sexual harassment or discrimination, we always need to portray each individual in the problem. So you need to portray the victim. You need to portray the person who is causing the problem, and then the person who you go to as the solution to the problem. So you don't just showcase the problem. We need to know the solution to the problem, because when we have a solution to a problem, we are then educated. But by just showcasing the problem, everybody knows the different problems that there are. We must find a creative way to showcase the solution to the problem. Okay, so that is theatre to educate or inform. So you guys must start thinking a little bit more out of the box symbolically when it comes to performance. Don't always just count on the literal showing a school setting, for example. Think a little bit deeper. Think about any Disney film, any children's play, any children's TV program. You don't see every TV program for children that is in a school setting. No, you have things like Paw Patrol. You guys would know about that. Paw Patrol, which is dogs. And if you think about it, every episode of Paw Patrol has a life lesson in the end. But it wouldn't have been so effective for children had it been normal humans performing it. Okay, if you think about something like Frozen, even though Frozen is a fantasy story, there is such a magnificent life lesson to it. So when you do performances in groups, don't always just go for the literal. Think about those Disney movies. Think about the things that children watch now, like Paw Patrol, like, I don't know, all of them, Blaze, or whatever the case may be, where they use symbolic stories and scenarios to showcase life lessons. And all of that is theatre to educate. Any small children's program is normally performed to educate. That is the most popular performance style, is to educate people. Okay. The next one that we have is to protest or mobilize. Okay, so protest, we are very familiar with protest in South Africa. Okay, we know that when we have a problem and the government doesn't want to listen to us, or whatever institution does not want to listen to you, we resort to protest. So protest theatre does the same thing. It showcases a problem relating to the people. For example, if you guys have ever watched the movie Sarafina, or maybe a performance of Sarafina, which deals with which showcases the hardship of the apartheid era for black children. Okay, so it showcases a problem. Yeah, there is not always necessarily a solution. So we see with theatre to educate and inform, we know there's a problem and we have a solution. Protest theatre, we showcase a problem that is maybe not so evident to the target audience. So protest theatre was something that came into play during the apartheid era and also post-apartheid era. So black people showcased problems that they dealt with to inform the audience that they are performing it to. Okay. Most of the time the audience was themselves. Because in the apartheid era, black people were not allowed to perform to white people. Okay, so they couldn't inform them, so they informed themselves about it. And in that way, they created awareness around protest, around the issue that they are dealing with. Okay, so protest is a protest on something. So I'm using the example of racism now, but there's protest theatre about a lot of other things as well. For example, sexual harassment, sexual preference, people who are discriminated because of their sex. That is also protest theatre that is widely distributed. So once again, you showcase the problem and actually making people aware of a problem that might not be so evident for the audience that they are performing it to. Okay, so there's hardly ever a solution to protest theatre. You are basically showing this is a problem and we need to figure out a solution. Okay, theatre to educate, we showcase a problem, but we have a solution for it already. Okay. So we want to make people aware of the solution in theatre to educate, but in protest theatre, we want to make people aware of the actual problem that we are dealing with. Okay. Then there is theatre to entertain. So yeah, there is no educational value to the theatre piece. This is, for example, a circus performance. Okay, if you go to the circus and you watch a circus performance, there's no educational value to it. You don't learn anything. You are literally there to be entertained. Okay, watching two clowns with water pistols shooting at each other is definitely not anything that educational, okay, or protest worthy. It is literally there to entertain you. Okay. Some dance pieces, I'm not talking about dance pieces where there is a message behind the performance, where it's just literally there for the entertainment value. Okay, then lastly, this is a more difficult one to understand, to build or share identity. Okay, so to showcase who you are. So some performance pieces are there just to showcase an identity. I don't know if you guys remember last year sometime Mr. Muntz had a assembly where he showcased that woman that was sitting in, I think it was a museum, and people could sit in front of her and just watch her to be seen. Okay, very significant message that he had there. So that is something that will fall under a performance to build or share an identity. That woman wanted to share her identity, but also gain the identity of whoever was sitting opposite of her. Okay, so this is more expressionist type of performance where you express who you are through performance. So this can be a performance style where you just stand, for example, those mimes that stand in Italy and they freeze in one position. And then you throw money in a hat and then they change to another position. That is a performance style to build and share identity. So you share a little bit of yourself every time you have a movement. So it's not a traditional performance style. Okay, so let's just summarize the purpose of performance. So we know the first one is to educate. So you showcase the problem, but the focus is on the solution. The next one is protest or mobilize. So yeah, you showcase the problem. The focus is on the problem and not on the solution. There isn't a solution yet. Then to entertain, where it's purely a performance to entertain the audience. And then lastly, to build or share your identity. So to share a piece of who you are. Okay. Cool, guys. So that's not very difficult. It's really easy to understand once you grasp the concept of each one of them. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the target audience. So the target audience for the different kinds of theatre or purpose of theatre will also play a major role in the way in which the performance is done. Like I said, when we did the theatre in education performance, we did it for grade 1s, 2, 3s. So we could use a circus setting, an imaginary world for them in order for them to grasp the issues that we are dealing with and the solutions. Whereas if you perform, for example, for grade 10 to 12, you cannot use the same type of concept to educate them. You must look at what they are interested in, what they find entertaining, and then focus on that. So this is something that you guys can also think about. When you do a performance, who are you performing it to? And you will have to make it relevant to that target audience. And something, for example, protest theatre is a little bit difficult to perform to little children because they don't have the brain capacity yet to grasp the style of protest theatre because it's a little bit of an abstract style. The same as theatre for identity, to share identity. Same thing. You won't perform that type of genre to little ones. You would rather do educational theatre or just theatre to entertain. Okay. So your target audience is literally the people who you want to reach with your message or who you want to entertain. Okay. You're also not going to entertain grade ones the same as you would grade 12s because their brain capacity is different, their lifestyle is different, they are different people. So you are going to have to stick to what your audience likes or what your audience want. Okay, so think about that target audience. Okay, then we look at staging conventions. Okay, so when you perform, this is where I said you must use the whole stage. These blocks on this picture indicate the different spaces on a stage. So in a single performance, you have to use all of the spaces because otherwise there are some spaces on the stage that is left dark and not utilized. So why do you have this big stage if you are only going to use one small block in the center? Okay, so you must make sure that you hit all your targets. We call these targets. Okay, and you only perform in these blocks. You never perform there or there or here. You perform and hit the target blocks in those blocks. That's where you perform. Then you utilize the stage because if you start performing, for example, here, it looks awkward on stage. It looks like you don't really know where you want to be. You don't want to be upper right, but you also don't want to be stage center. So hit your target in those specific places. Okay, so you will see downstage right. Okay, so that is the performer's right. Okay, so if you look at the stage, it's the performer's right and left that we are looking at. Okay, so from your point of view as the performer, it's your left, your right. Okay, then we have upper stage, which is easy. That's the back of the stage. And then we have downstage. That's the front of the stage. And then stage left, right, and center. That is the middle part of the stage. So if I say to you, please go and stand up stage right, it's your right as the performer, and then it's at the back. Okay, so very easy to understand. You guys have to know this. These are terms that is used when directing, and it makes directing easier. So instead of saying, stand there on that corner, and your actor doesn't know what you were talking about, so you will say, you stand downstage left, downstage right, or downstage center. Okay, so when you write movements in a script. So say, for example, in the exam, I ask you to explain how you would perform a scene out of Frozen. You must, as a director, tell me you're going to use this terminology to explain to me where the actors will be. Okay. Then lastly, the use of symbolism. So I've spoken a little bit about that when we spoke about the purposes of performance. Okay, so you don't only always have to use the literal portrayal of a problem or of protest or of something that you want to show. Sometimes think a little bit deeper, and the symbolism that you would use would relate to your target audience. So if your target audience is girls in grade 10, you will use a different type of symbolism than boys in grade 1. Okay, so think about your target audience. What will they understand? What symbolism will they relate to? And then you use that in your performance. Okay, cool. So guys, If there's any questions from your side, please feel free to ask. But I think this is pretty straightforward. You just have to know this terminology, know the purposes of why we perform, know where on the stage you perform, and you must be able to follow directions of the stage. Okay, cool. Thank you very much and enjoy your day.